I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
My name is Lisa Scott Ponce. We moved to Sunnyvale in 1967, and I went to Carson Elementary for 4th through 6th grades. I had to walk past a long block of cherry orchards to get to school, and in the spring it was the most lovely experience to be surrounded by those fluffy white blossoms. The bunches of blossoms would fall off the trees, and they looked like piles of snow in the street gutter. We were occasionally tempted to pick a cherry or two on the hot June walk back home. My favorite memory of Carson was having field day on the last day of school. We were allowed to wear pants or shorts because normally girls could only wear dresses. We played games out on the field all day and ate our brown bag lunches we'd brought from home. The room mothers and teachers had plenty of popsicles and lemonade for us because it was usually pretty hot that time of year. Carson students went to Edwina Benner Junior High, which was up Washington Avenue about half a mile from Carson, behind Washington Park. Junior high was only 7th and 8th grades. In the spring, we had swimming for PE, so we'd walk across the street to the pool at Washington Park. The bad kids used to cut class and go across to the park to smoke and hang out. In those days, the park was heavily forested with redwood trees, so apparently it made hiding from the school administration pretty easy. My brother played Little League baseball at Washington Park on Saturday mornings. Miss Sproat and Miss Morales were the girls' PE teachers, and they were tough but fair. I always remember they'd tell us, "Don't be afraid to exert yourself." I still remember that good advice. They were our leaders of the Benner drill team, and we won first place, beating Mango and Madrone Junior Highs in the downtown Christmas parade of 1971. Some other wonderful and caring teachers I remember fondly are Mr. Demarelli, Mr. O'Hara, and Mr. Glazeman. I became friends with my future husband in Mrs. Dawson's typing class. We knew everyone in our neighborhood, and we walked to St. Cyprian Church. We walked or rode our bikes to buy our groceries at Mary Manor Market. We knew all the butchers and checkers there by first name. There was a drugstore next to the grocery store where we'd bring our film to be developed, and that took about 2 weeks. All the neighborhood kids tended to behave pretty well out in public. Since so many in the community knew each other, someone could easily call our parents to tell them when we'd misbehaved. We tended to hang out together in groups. In the summers, we might go to Washington Park to swim or play tennis. To go swimming, it cost 25 cents. The city of Sunnyvale had some activities for children during the summer, like an overnight experience with sleeping bags at Washington Park, showings of old movies on a projector at a vacant school site, or arts and crafts at another school site. The first thing my mother did when we moved to Sunnyvale was bring us down here to the Sunnyvale Library to get library cards. And it became a sanctuary for me over the years, and this is still a special place I visit a lot. The Benner students then attended Sunnyvale High School. Some of my classmates had parents that were too scared to send their kids there because Sunnyvale High had a reputation for being rough. Those families sent their kids to Fremont or Homestead instead. We lived far from Sunnyvale High School, so my neighborhood, which is Washington and Bernardo, was bused to school. The bus arrived at 6:45 a.m., and if you missed it, you had to walk to school, which was several miles, or go home and beg your parents to drive you to school before they went to work. The bus also went to pick up students from the isolated homes among the fields and hothouses of the flower growers of Sunnyvale. All that open space is built up now, and it's not recognizable. Sunnyvale High had a diverse community. There was a Mexican-American club, a Black student union, sports, cheerleading, science group, foreign language club, scholarship group, band, charitable organizations. And like anywhere else, there were some students using drugs and drinking and getting pregnant and getting into fights. But right away as a new freshman, I figured out who to steer clear of, and I avoided all that stuff. Our biggest football rival was Fremont High. We felt like Fremont looked down its nose at us. Some of our teachers at Sunnyvale High were fairly young. They might have been only 10 to 15 years older than me. They were very energetic. They were really good sports about participating in all kinds of activities. We had 50s Day, and they'd dress up in clothes of that era and dance the 50s style dances. They were very approachable and caring people. I think back and I marvel at their energy and their interest in us, how they'd foster ideas and they'd have debates with us, and they'd urge us to always try harder. Some of my favorites were Mrs. Gutierrez, Mrs. Turek, and Mr. Cooper, who taught Spanish, and Mr. Knapp and Mrs. Katz taught science and biology, and Mr. Laurel taught psychology, and he coached the soccer team. He was young, but he was a very thorough teacher, and he commanded a lot of respect. Mr. Rollo and Mr. O'Keefe stand out in my mind as excellent English teachers. Math was really hard for me, but the math department teachers were always willing to stay in at lunch or stay after school to help me with tricky algebra problems. Sunnyvale High teachers planned wonderful activities and trips, like to the tide pools of Half Moon Bay. There was a foreign language fair at Gavilan College, and there was a week-long backpacking trip in the Sierra Nevada. Miss Kimura sponsored a swing dance night where she taught us swing dancing in the cafeteria, and that was really great fun. We had basketball games in the gym, but our football games were always held at Diesner Field at Fremont. Interact sponsored a yearly car rally, and there was a radio station on campus, and my brother was one of the DJs. The campus had a great variety of trees and plants, which came in very handy for us when we had the section in biology class where we had to key the trees and identify them. In those days, there were enough funds to teach driver's ed and also driver's training. There was a driving lab at the back of the school, and we also went out in station wagons with driving teachers. A great honor for a junior girl, if you had a high GPA, was being able to be an arbor girl. We girls picked fresh ivy and made dozens of tissue carnations to attach to wire arches that we held over the graduating seniors in June during the graduation ceremony. On Fair Oaks Avenue, close to the school, was an A&W root beer drive-in. Some girls were lucky enough to get a part-time job as a car hop on roller skates, and then they'd bring the burgers and floats to the customer's car door. Other girls found jobs as clerks at Anita's or Hart's in downtown Sunnyvale. My friends and I liked to buy our clothes from Anita's or the Gold Hanger. We ate ice cream and bought our records from the shops in the town and country. I knew a girl who had to get up really early in the morning because she made the donuts at Winchell's before she came to school. My friends and I graduated in 1976, the year of the bicentennial, which was this huge, big deal. Anything in Americana style was very popular. Many students opted for De Anza Junior College or San Jose State University because most families could not afford to send their kids away to school. All these years later, much has changed. Downtown Sunnyvale was renovated in the early 1980s, but is again under construction. Carson was closed, but it reopened some years ago as Vargas. Benner was torn down, as well as the cherry orchards, and houses have been built instead. Sunnyvale High is no more, but it's now a private Christian high school.